Alright, welcome back to the flag project. In this tutorial, we're actually going to create the flag. We finished up the pyramid, we finished up a ground plane, and now we want to create a flag for our little environment to live and breathe in. And if I hit play here, I've got some end cloth system applied to both these little flags here. So I'm going to share how to create the flag in this tutorial. Without the system, just creating a flagpole, a flag, and then applying a texture to it and go over that process. Let's begin. So we're going to start off by creating in the polygon menu set here a cylinder. So a cylinder is sort of the basic structure of the pole here. And you can see here as I bring it up, it's kind of big, right? So let's reduce the size of this. So I'm going to go to the poly cylinder input here, and I'm going to change some of the settings here. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the radius. It has a 1 for the radius. I'm going to try 0.2. Let's see how that is. It's still too small. Let's try 0.02. And that's a little bit too small. So we'll go maybe 0.08. Let's try 0.04. That looks pretty good. So I'm trying to get the approximate size of what I have here. It's not exactly the same size, but it's okay. Then what I want to do is change the height to at least 4, I would say, for the divisions. You can see it's going from down below, so I could have it actually a little lower. I could have like 3 and just bring it up like that. And then let's put let's actually hide my other flag layer here temporarily. The other thing I want to do with this is I want to change the divisions and the roundness. So 20 is too much, so I'm going to go with 8, and that will give me more of that sort of faceted kind of pole quality. And then I can add some divisions along the width if I want to, or the height I mean. I'd probably add like, I don't know, 10 maybe of those just to kind of break it up. And this pretty much will complete the flagpole look. So with the flagpole, it's pretty simple. At this point, I can delete the history, freeze transformations, and center pivot. You've seen that before. I have it in my custom shelf, and I do these 3 here, but it's under modify, center pivot, freeze transformations, under modify, and then edit, delete by type, and then history. So those 3, I just like to clean up the history, freeze transformation, center pivot on that. And then we can add a material to this. So let's go ahead and right click, go down to assign new material, and we can just add a Arnold AI standard surface shader. Click on that, and then with this shader selected, click in the presets and choose like brush metal, for example, and just hit replace. So that'll be a good material to start with. Now the next thing is the flag itself. So the flag we're actually going to put an image on. I'm going to show you real quick in Photoshop. What I have here is a Batman symbol that I kind of redesigned based upon the Dark Knight. So I've kind of modified a little bit. I had a little drop shadow. And then I saved this out as a TIFF. And the image size of this is 1K. It's 1024 by 1024. Was what they call a 1K size in the 3D world. So I saved that as a TIFF format, and you can do that just by going File, go down to Save As, and then here click instead of Photoshop, choose TIFF. TIFF is great because it will save out transparency. So when I hit save, it will there'll be a little checkbox in the menu set to save out alpha transparency, which is nice. But I could just have a white background, which is another option too. So if I want, I could just add a new layer here, drag it down, and pick a color if I want. And actually, that's not a bad idea. So I think I'll do that real quick, is just grab the paint bucket and paint it in white. That way I could save out just as a JPEG if I want to. So go File, Save As, and this time I'll choose JPEG. And where I'm saving this is in the Source Images folder in the flag project. So I'm going to save that out and then click OK. And we'll go back to Maya here. So I have my textures ready to go. So now I just need to create the flag. So the flag under the poly modeling set is a flat plane. And once you create it, you can bring it up here. You'll see that it is square. And what we have to do is we have to make it longer, right? So we go to the channel box here in the polyplane menu set here. And the first thing we're going to do is change the width to 1.5, and that will give us that wider quality of a flag. Now the problem with this is you'll see that the squares are no longer square, they're more rectangle. And so that can be very problematic with end particles. We want very consistent squares. So here is we're going to change the width to match that. If we type in 15, we'll get perfect squares. So make sure you change to 1.5 and 15. Then at that point I can move it up to the top here, and then I can rotate it. So if I hit E for rotation tool right here, and I'll grab the X and just kind of drag downwards a little bit, and then just click in here and type in 90 degrees, and that will give me the correct rotation I need. Then I'm just going to kind of move it over into place and have it over here. So that's about right for a flag. Now the divisions are it's a little bit, this would be okay for a very low res kind of flag, but we want to add a little bit more divisions. So in order to do that, we'll go to the modeling toolkit here and click on add divisions. And then I think 2 will probably be enough. So I'll hit 2 and hit enter. If your machine can't handle that, keep it on 1 if you feel like your computer's a little slower. But I think mine's fine for the 2. And then go back to object mode and just make sure everything's set there. At this point I can again delete history, freeze transformation, center pivot, and then now I can apply material in here. So I'm going to right click on it and go down to assign new material, and then click on the AI Arnold shader, AI standard surface shader, and this one I'm going to rename. So I'm going to click in here and I'll rename it. I'll call it flag. I don't know how many materials I have in here. I might have a bunch, so I'm going to call it flag 22. Just have a different number. And then to apply the material on here, all we got to do is click in the color node here in the checker box, if you remember this from the past, to add your texture. So I'm click on that. That brings up the creator node, and then I'm going to click on the file node here. And once I do that, my image turns kind of grayish, and I can click on the little folder icon here, and then I can search for my flag. So I have a folder called flag images, and that's what I've created. And so if you have lots of textures in the source images, you can create folders for those textures, and that's what I did here. So I have the JPEG and then the TIFF. TIFF has transparency. I want to use the JPEG and click open, and you'll see what we have here. We have a Batman symbol. Now you may not see on both sides here. You may see only one side, and that's because I have shading. I'm sorry, I need lighting. I have two-sided lighting turned on. With that off, you're going to see black on one side of the plane here. So make sure you go to the lighting menu set and turn on two-sided lighting. Then you'll see the Batman symbol on both sides. So now the bat symbol isn't in the correct spot, so this is where we got to open up the UV editor and kind of check it out. So I'm going to just switch to the UV editing workspace, and this will be a little faster. And I'm going to click on this image here, and you can kind of see in here where my UV is. It's kind of a flat plane. I don't have to do anything with the UV, I just have to move it up. So all I'm going to do is just right click in here and go to UV shell in this little whip. And once I do that, I click on the shell, hit W, and that creates the move tool, and I just drag this up, and that will kind of center the bat symbol in the flag here. So I'm just going to move it up a little bit, however much I want, and that looks pretty good. You'll see it on both sides like that. Then I can go back to the Maya Classic workspace and right click and go back to object mode. Again, with these little right clicks, if you don't like to do that, you can always go to the modeling toolkit if you were in component mode and just click on the object mode there. But now we have our flag set up. We have a little pole and a flag. We already created our light system in a previous tutorial, but again, if you haven't done that, you can go to the Arnold tab here and then click on the light here. And so in the channel box here, I have it on its own layer. So drag this up here and it's turned on. And so what I could do is I could do a quick render just to kind of test it out. Now I'm going to check my render settings to make sure I don't have a really high resolution. It looks like 540 is good, so that'll be pretty quick. And I'll add my little renderable area here and just do a quick render here just to see what it's like. Now again, this doesn't have any end cloth, anything on it yet, so that will be in the next tutorial. But this will kind of give us an idea of, is the materials looking good, is the textures looking good, and we're telling right here in real time with this render here. I can even escape out just by hitting the escape key to cancel out. That, right now this looks pretty good for the render. It looks fine. Looks like cloth material, and then I got kind of a shiny or sort of metal. What I forgot what material I applied on that. I applied. Let's see if I go to presets. It was the brush metal. That's right, brush metal for the pole. So with stronger lighting, you'll see that the brush metal, but it looks pretty good. So in the next tutorial, we'll cover how to create a system and cloth system for this flag and get it moving. Until next time, see you soon in Autodesk Maya. Cheers!